coming up on the March 27th edition of Sports Extra.
With 5, looks up, driving in, May for the win! North Carolina with 0.3 seconds to go!
Final Four bound. The North Carolina Redemption Tour is heading to Phoenix as March Madness turns into May Madness.
And if you couldn't get enough May in March, the men's lacrosse team hosted Maryland in a title game rematch at Fetzer Field.
And the 10th-ranked Diamond Heels look to stay atop the Coastal Division rankings in a series against Miami. All that and so much for Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
Happy Luke May Appreciation Day, everybody. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm John Assetti.
And I'm Caleb Waters. On a floor filled with five-star recruits and NBA lottery talent, it was the preferred walk-on who sent the North Carolina Tar Heels back to the Final Four. The men's basketball team's dream of redemption is still alive. Let's take you through the thrilling weekend in Memphis, starting with the Sweet 16 matchup against fourth-seeded Butler. After struggling in the first two rounds, Joel Berry finally delivered for the Tar Heels with 26 points on 8 of 13 shooting, and he's excited about it. Now his buddy Justin Jackson added 24 of his own in a game in which Carolina led by double digits for most of the affair. And the Bulldogs, they did try to rally late in the second half, cutting it to 11, but Joel Berry answered. UNC holds on 92-80 and sets up a dramatic rematch with Kentucky. And what a showdown it was. Two of the greatest programs in the sport duking it out for a spot in the Final Four. Williams, Calipari. Let's jump straight to the second half. Kentucky has its first lead of the game, and Isaac Humphries adds to his career high of 12 points. UNC was so shook that Roy Williams called a timeout, and it worked. First possession, Theo Pinson, buckets. A little bit later, Justin Jackson off the iron, buckets. Carolina's on an 8-0 run when Joel Berry uses the glass. Kiss off the glass. Heels up 5 with less than 2 to play. They stretch it to 7 with less than a minute left. But here comes Big Blue, De'Aaron Fox from a corner 3, splash. Then it's Malik Monk's turn. Another clutch 3 right in Theo Pinson's face. Now it's a 1-point game. But Luke May makes the home run pass to Jackson for the fake. And the lay-in, Carolina up 3 again. 12 seconds left, same score. Malik Monk hits a game-tying 3. And you know the drill. No timeout taken by North Carolina. Theo Pinson dishes to Luke May for the win. Onions. The Tar Heels win an absolute classic to go back to the Final Four as Luke David May of Huntersville, North Carolina, etches his name in Chapel Hill folklore. And it was the biggest shot of his life.
I was late on the switch, and I just kind of got out there late, and then Theo found me, and I just shot it like I do every day in practice.
Here to talk about Luke May's and the Heels' jam-packed weekend of tournament wins, we have basketball analyst Lindsay Sparrow. Lindsay, it's nice to see a buzzer beater that didn't break my heart for once.
Well, John, you said it. Luke May made quite the name for himself last night with that last-second game-winning shot, sending Carolina to their second consecutive Final Four. And his shot did not go unnoticed by UNC students. This morning, May got a standing ovation in his 8 a.m. class, but it's not only his buzzer beater that earned May the title of the South Region's most outstanding player. On Thursday, he posted his first career double-double against Butler with 16 points and 12 rebounds. And last night, he posted yet another career high of 17 points. It's clear he has stepped up in tournament play. May averaged just about 5 points during the regular season, but look at his stats from Memphis. More than 16 points a game on 63% shooting, which shows he's taking smart shots, draining 33 points for the Heels this weekend. Number 2 made a mark as strong man for the North Carolina team, and his toughness through injury in the tournament upholds that strong man title. The story of Joel Berry's weak ankles isn't over. After spraining his right ankle in the round of 64 and tweaking it in Saturday's pregame practice, he went down yet again last night while driving to the basket, spraining his left ankle. He retreated to the locker room for a quick evaluation and later said that he told himself, "Come on, JB, fight through it," and he did just that. Living up to what Coach Roy Williams calls him, a tough little nut. Williams updated the media today about Berry's status.
I haven't seen him, and I don't know what the trainers are going to tell me to do. For me, I thought it was smarter for us to go out Tuesday because some people's feet do swell when they get on the airplane. Hopefully, by the time we get to Thursday or Friday, he'll be able to do some things in practice, but I'm scared to death right now because I just don't know.
While we mull over that uncertainty, let's dive into some key points in the UNC victory over the Wildcats. For me, there are two huge game-changing plays by the Tar Heels. This season, the Tar Heels have struggled on several different occasions to hold on to leads and close out games with authority. And going into the second half last night, it looked like the Heels were on the decline. The Heels were scoreless for the last 3 minutes and 26 seconds on the first half, and returned to the court, allowing a 9-0 run from the Wildcats. But after 7 minutes and 28 seconds without a field goal, Mr. ACC Player of the Year said enough is enough, drained that nasty three-pointer, and drew the foul, making a 4-point play, getting the Heels right back on their shooting track. Glorious offensive plays weren't the only things that helped the Heels advance to the Final Four. They also played effective D, well, some of the time. The Wildcats kept themselves in the game last night by penetrating the lane. Coach Williams made a huge defensive call, switching Carolina to zone defense to see if his players could stop the drives. And you know what? It worked, leading to this swat from Kennedy Meeks. I think that big offensive play by Jackson and Coach Williams' crunch time intuition, and of course Luke May's instant classic shot show Carolina isn't messing around on their redemption tour back to the national championship game.
Couldn't agree more. That's Lindsay Sparrow with the lights out analysis. Thanks, Lindsay.
So the matchup is set. It will be the Oregon Ducks taking on the Tar Heels in the Final Four Saturday night. And joining us now live at the Dean Dome to break it all down is basketball analyst Brett Thompson. Brett, what should we expect from the Ducks?
Well, Caleb, we should expect another high-scoring thriller just like we saw last night in Memphis when we get to Saturday in Phoenix. Listen, the Ducks are for real. There's no real getting around it. They won a share of the Pac-12 title this season. They're 33-5 after this weekend. And maybe most impressively, to punch their ticket to Phoenix, they had to go through Kansas in Kansas City. That's about as hard of a neutral court win as you're going to find this season. So what is it that makes the Ducks so good? In part, it's their balance. The Ducks come at you with 4 starters averaging double-digit points, led by Dillon Brooks, who we'll get to in a minute. They can scorch you from outside with guys like Tyler Dorsey, who shoots 42% from three-point land, and they can bruise you inside with big men like Jordan Bell, who scores almost 11 points per game on a ridiculous 63% from the field. The big men for Oregon are stellar defensively as well, as the Ducks are second in the nation in blocks, averaging more than 6 per game. But they will be missing their leading rim protector in Chris Boucher, who tore his ACL in the Pac-12 tournament. So let's take a look at what kind of difference Boucher makes for the Ducks. Like I said, they average about 6.3 blocks per game, but again, that's second in the country, 6.3 blocks per game. But without him in the tournament, they've averaged just 4.5 blocks. Now, Boucher was also the second leading rebounder for Oregon, which is another huge loss considering how great North Carolina is on the boards, arguably the best team in the country. Now, Oregon is fairly average as a team on the glass. They get about 32 rebounds per game, which makes them 132nd in the country. Now, a player they will have on the court, though, who will make a difference is the Pac-12 Player of the Year, Dillon Brooks. Carolina fans might remember Brooks as the guy Coach K snubbed in the handshake line last year, but they should know him as a dynamic forward capable of taking games over. He leads the team in scoring with 16 points per game. He does not turn the ball over, and he shoots almost 50% from the field. He's not the most athletic forward in the country, but he's got a lethal jab step, an outside shot, and is the type of stretch forward that could expose Isaiah Hicks defensively. Now, before I send it back to you guys in the studio, I do want to talk about what this game means for Roy Williams' legacy here as the head coach of North Carolina, as he continues another deep run into March to silence the Fire Roy crowd. And 14 seasons at Carolina, Williams has taken the Heels to the Elite Eight more often than not, with 8 appearances. And in those 8 Elite Eights, he's won 5 times, as this will be the 5th Final Four Coach Williams will take North Carolina to in the past 14 seasons. And finally, he's on a quest for a 3rd national title. That would be the most of any coach in that time span since getting to Chapel Hill. And yes, it would give him one more than the legendary, his mentor, Dean Smith. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but Dean Smith's a pretty big deal here in North Carolina. He's got his own building named after him. By the end of this March, we might have to have a building or a court named after Roy Williams, but he's only 2/3 of the way to that coveted third title. And it's anybody's game at this point, excuse me. It's the first team to 2 wins is going to take home the title, and I know I personally am so excited to see what happens starting Saturday against Oregon in the nightcap in Phoenix. Caleb, back to you.
Well, Brett, I know you're not the only one excited. That's Brett Thompson live at the Dean Dome previewing the national semifinal game. Thanks, Brett.
The Tar Heels are on their road to redemption as they head back to the NCAA Final Four. And as the basketball team and fans hope for the best, let's take a trip down memory lane. Taking it all the way back to 2005 when the Heels won their Final Four game against Michigan State and then went on to win it all over Illinois in a tight 75-70 game to become NCAA champions. On now to 2008 where Carolina got shellacked in the semifinals 66-84 by Coach Roy's former team Kansas. And here's where we might start to see some similarities for this year's team. In 2009, the Heels came back looking for blood, and after beating Villa no longer in this year's tournament, the Heels won the championship against Michigan State 89-72, and finally, the Heels advanced to the Final Four last year, obviously beating Syracuse to play Villanova in the title game, and you know the story from there. An incredible three-pointer from Marcus Page and the buzzer-beating shot by Chris Jenkins crushes the spirits of the Heels, who lose the championship game 77-74 to Villanova. Last week we showed you the first look at our Sports Extra Bracket Challenge standings. Let's take a peek at those scores now. Senior Marcus Staley leads by a large margin with 810 points. Yours truly sits in second place with 680, with basketball analyst Lindsey Sparrow close behind with 670, nipping at my heels. And in last place, self-proclaimed walking sports encyclopedia Michael Coe with only 590 points. But of course, all of us have UNC winning it all.
Paul Beam made his mark during the tournament last year in a band dance-off that earned national attention. And Paul this year danced his way to Memphis and has this installment of Heels on the Bus.
The Heels travel to Memphis, the birthplace of rock and roll, for their shot at going to the Final Four. Memphis is all about music, from the rockin' sounds of the world-famous Beale Street to the hallowed ground of Graceland, the home and final resting spot of the king, Elvis Presley. Graceland has everything about Elvis's career and personal life. You can see his famous collection of classic and exotic cars, all of his gold records, and all the ridiculous jumpsuits he wore throughout his career. Elvis really was the king, but how'd he get so good? He probably took a stroll down to the Gibson Guitar Factory in Memphis to get a great guitar. Elvis did play Gibson guitars for most of his career, and after looking at some of the guitars, I'd say he probably made the right decision. So we know Memphis has great music, but it's also known for its slow-smoked barbecue ribs. I went to a local hotspot, Central Barbecue, to take on this massive slab of ribs. What did I think of them? Sorry, KFC, but that stuff is truly finger-licking good. All right, now that I'm full, let's go watch some basketball. The South Regional was held at the FedEx Forum, which is home to the NBA's Memphis Grizzlies and the University of Memphis Tigers. I sat courtside for some great matchups, and it was a stressful time.
To tie it. Oh, an impossible shot.
But I think it worked out in the end.
May for the win. North Carolina.
Give that man the whole net. See y'all in Phoenix. In Memphis, I'm Paul Beam, reporting.
Paul will be back on the bus, well, the plane this time, leaving Tuesday evening for Phoenix. And look for his live reports all week long on our sister shows Carolina Week, Carolina Connection, and Carolina Now. And when Sports Extra returns, the men's lacrosse team hosted Maryland in a national championship rematch.
Let's just say fans are thankful that this game happened in March instead of May.
I'm Anne. I'm a scientist.
Recycling takes a team.
Why don't you let me and me help you out?
Everyone plays a part. Don't trash
I love taking stuff apart and building new things out of it.
what could be treasure.
Pal's my most advanced android. This is awesome. You haven't seen anything yet.
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
With both lacrosse teams in action this weekend, we're going to start with the men who took on a familiar foe here at Fetzer Field. In a rematch of last year's title game tilt between the Tar Heels and the Terrapins, Maryland came storming out of the gate, scoring at will and taking it to the Heels, enacting their revenge for last May. Maryland played its offense to perfection in the first period, scoring on all 6 of their shots on goal. In the end, beating the Tar Heels 15-7. The women played Boston College on Saturday, the Eagles storming out to an early lead as the Tar Heels struggled to stop junior Kate Weeks, who paced BC with 5 goals. The Heels fell behind 6-3 before Sydney Holman scores with 1 second on the clock before the break, giving Carolina some much-needed momentum. The Heels then scored 3 times in as many minutes after halftime, and they never gave up that lead again. Despite a late Boston College rally, the Heels hang on to win 15-13.
The softball team is off to one of the best starts in program history. Let's go live to Lex Juarez down at Anderson Stadium. Lex?
Caleb, Tar Heels softball is on fire this season. The Heels started off last weekend with a 24-7 record, and much of that success can be credited to freshman pitcher Brittany Pickett, who continued the dominance this Friday for the first of 3-game series against the NC State Wolfpack. On Friday, the Heels dominated, leaving not our rivals NC State scoreless thanks to the work of pitcher, you guessed it, Brittany Pickett. The Wolfpack never got a runner past second base on the day, and Pickett helped her own cause with this solo home run to right field, as Carolina crushed the Pack 6-0. Before Game 2, the former UNC slugger Kristen Brown was honored for her historic career, and the all-time ACC home run leader seemed to inspire Tar Heels. The Carolina offense slugged a trio of home runs, including Kendra Lynch's career-high 13th dinger of the year, and Katie Bailiff continued her hot hitting with her first career grand slam, as the Heels ended the game in 6 innings by run rule with the 12-4 victory. Looking for the sweep, the Heels cruised along with a 5-1 lead heading into the 5th when trouble began. With the bases loaded and 2 outs, a simple pop fly fell between 3 defenders to spark the Wolfpack. NC State third baseman Brittany Nimmo crushed her second homer of the day, giving State an 8-7 lead that the Pack wouldn't relinquish. And Caleb, despite that loss, the 26-8 Tar Heels and looking to continue their strong start on Wednesday when they host UNC Greensboro. Back to you guys.
Lex Juarez knocking it out of the park with that live report. Thanks, Lex. And from the circle to the mound, the 8th-ranked baseball team looked to continue its scorching start to the season against a floundering Miami team at Boshamer Stadium this weekend. J.B. Bukauskas improved to 4-0 as a starter after another incredible game on the mound versus the Hurricanes. The junior tallied 9 strikeouts and only 3 hits during his 7 shutout innings. On the offensive side, it was a combination of Miami's Jesse Lepore's poor pitching and Carolina's 10 hits that allowed the Heels to cruise to victory, taking the opener 7-2 and leaving the Canes, well, they had some long faces. On Saturday, sophomore Brandon Riley got Carolina going with a homer in the second as the Tar Heels secured a 3rd straight ACC series win. Freshman Gianluca Delatri posted 4 straight scoreless innings against the Hurricanes, and although the Heels were out-hit 10-4, all 4 of those Carolina hits went for extra bases. Junior Brian Miller doubled the Carolina lead in the 4th, sliding in on this 2-run triple, and sophomore Cody Roberts' first home run of the year in the 6th helped Carolina seal the 6-3 victory. But the Canes were able to avoid the sweep, taking Sunday's game by a score of 6-2. Miami capitalized on 4 Carolina errors and broke the game open with a 4 spot in the top of the 6. And despite Sunday's loss, the Diamond Heels are now 18-6 on the season and will host the defending national champions Coastal Carolina on Tuesday. Up next on Sports Extra, the football team might have found its new QB.
We take a look at the man making the switch from the SEC to UNC.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
The latest NFL draft projections still predict that Mitchell Trubisky will be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft. Now, Trubisky could go early in the first round with his hometown Cleveland Browns picking at number 1 and number 12 overall. And the San Francisco 49ers, Chicago Bears, and New York Jets could all use a franchise quarterback with their top 10 picks. And the man who could replace Trubisky is LSU graduate transfer Brandon Harris. A little slip there for the touchdown. A dual-threat quarterback who had his best season back in 2015 when he started all 12 games for the Tigers. Watch his arm here. He tallied just a little less than 2,200 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. Now, he also rushed for 226 yards and another 4 scores as you watch him evade some tacklers here, but he lost his starting job last year. Khalil Rogers, a 4th-year graduate student, has also committed to play football at UNC. He decided to leave Southern Cal shortly after the Trojans won the Rose Bowl, and Rogers played on both the offensive and defensive lines during his 3 years at USC. So football has the highest incidence of players reporting multiple concussions of any NCAA men's sports. And some people on campus are trying to bring attention to this dangerous injury. Allie Yates reports.
People got moving early on Sunday morning at the Get Your Motor Running 5K. UNC junior Emerson Scholes founded Concussion Awareness Recovery Run.
The more people hear about it, the more that they'll think about it. When I post flyers on campus, I'm like, even if they don't go to my 5K run, at least they're thinking about this issue.
Scholes' younger brother got his first concussion in 5th grade.
I've had a headache 24/7 my whole life.
We apologize for those technical difficulties, but it was an event that the proceeds will go to benefit the Matthew Gaffeller Concussion Research Center right here on UNC's campus.
The men's tennis team remains unbeaten at home after a 5-2 victory against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane on Saturday. UNC took the doubles point with victories on courts 1 and 2, and senior Ronnie Schneider, the 19th ranked player in the country, set the tone for the singles matches, cruising to a 6-2, 6-1 victory on court 1. Tulsa took victories in the 3rd and 4th singles spots, but William Bloomberg would go on to win in straight sets on court 2 to seal the match for the Heels and extend that home winning streak to 9 matches. Carolina hosts ACC foes Miami and Florida State on Friday and Sunday. Now on the women's side, the top-ranked doubles pair of Jessie Aney and Haley Carter started the heels off strong by clinching the opening point of the match. Carter remained on fire, breezing through her singles match 6-1, 6-3. Before then, on court 5, Chloe Olette-Pizer brought home Carolina's 34th straight ACC regular season victory as the Heels cruised to the shutout victory over the Hokies. Then on Sunday, UVA got the always crucial doubles point, but Carolina comes storming back with singles wins on courts 5 and 6. And then 9th-ranked Sarah Davatilla breaks Cavaliers' Rosie Johansson to win 6-3, 6-2 on court 1 and clinch the match for the Tar Heels. UNC is now a perfect 7-0 in ACC play and hosts number 6 Georgia Tech on Saturday. What happens when Sports Xtra team members try out for sports themselves?
Well, it's not always pretty, but it is always entertaining.
I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school and I didn't do it. My support team never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew who I could become as a person. I've been given an opportunity and I'm just thankful for it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Hey John, you know the men's basketball team isn't the only group on campus competing for championships, right?
What are you talking about? They're the only team in any kind of tournament right now.
Well, the Final Four is cool and all, sure, but Cam Newworth gives us a look at an intramural Frisbee team with some familiar faces for fans of the show.
Carolina Intramural Sports, where it's all about the software. The t-shirts, that is. For Sports Xtra members Caleb Waters and Rivers Upchurch, it's just a time for guys to be dudes. Their team, the punny "You Know You Want This Disc," was riding a 4-game win streak into the semifinals of the Ultimate Frisbee tournament. Unfortunately, a poor second half spelled defeat for the disc team, and with that loss came a lot of emotions.
I don't know what to say right now. I hate it for my teammates. I hate it for the seniors out here. Man, it hurts right now. It really hurts.
And no game would be complete without a little bit of drama.
Although their team name was Loophole Exploit, so we're debating filing a petition.
Yeah,
I think Campus Rec needs to look into that.
Some of those guys played for Wake.
Yeah, it's a little fishy. I don't even know if they go here.
We're looking into a petition with the Frisbee committee, but you know how the government is. Can't get anything done, so I don't expect to see us next week.
And true to form, both Waters and Upchurch had different emotions about the loss and the outlook for next year's team.
I wish we could say we had next year, but we don't. And that, I think, is the worst part, you know?
I'm not going to guarantee a championship next year, but I'm not going to not guarantee a championship next year.
Both Waters and Upchurch will be graduating in May this year with no shirt in hand. In Chapel Hill, I'm Camden Newer, reporting.
Well, Caleb, I gotta say, you surprisingly looked pretty good out there.
John, that kind of sounds like a backhand compliment.
Oh, you need to stop, Disc.
Guys, I promise we did not practice this beforehand.
Stop trying to hammer this home.
Wow, this joke has been ultimate.
Frisbee.
Well, I guess that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.